Russo and Joe Russo, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Chris Evans, Scarlett Johansson, and Kevin Feige. See you there. And Samuel L. Jackson. Let's get started right away. They're in the second row.
Chris and Scarlett, this film is full of people not trusting, wondering who they can trust. And I wondered that in both of your lives, what does somebody have to do if they really want to be your friend? What is the trust issues that you might have? You don't have to go too deep in psychological.
They always offer money. No, well, it takes time. It takes time and experience. You need to earn trust, and that's not something that happens overnight. I really don't have a complex of an answer besides that.
How do you trust her?
I trust no one. No, I only trust whoever Sam Jackson trusts. That's my barometer right there. I don't know. I don't know how.
They have to prove themselves.
I don't think people have to prove themselves in order for me to trust them. I think I'm mostly trusting by nature. And usually I would say, I guess I wait for people to prove me wrong, and then I don't trust them, I would say, after that. And then you never get it back. Once I don't trust you, you're out of the circle.
Right here in the second row.
Hello, hi, this is a question for Scarlett. Hi, it was very interesting to see the human side, the more human side of Black Widow this time. And it seems like, this is the third time you're playing this character, and it seems that this character has been evolved a lot, like grew a lot. And what do you think, how this character has been evolved in a way? And also, by playing this character, do you think you have also changed in a way?
That I have a what?
You have changed, or you're
I've changed?
Or, yeah.
Well, other than being in physical therapy for the rest of my life. I think this is the first time that we've really gotten to see kind of Natasha. We saw a little bit of her in Avengers, and we saw a bit of her backstory. But and we'll see more of that in Avengers too. But in this film, we really get to see Natasha as a person who, gets up, gets ready for work in the morning, has a life outside of, just her job. Once she's out of the suit, she's a woman, and she has, her own kind of reality outside of this. Even though who knows how far that stretches, but it's not until I think through the series of circumstances, as the plot unfolds, we kind of find both, I think, Steve and Natasha kind of questioning their own identity, realizing that they thought that they had, they were pretty strong people that had their beliefs or whatever kind of twisted morals they might have, or whatever they are. Maybe the widow more than Caps, but at the end of it, they realized, wait, I actually don't know who I've actually been told. Kind of, I've been this sort of hired hand for this, my entire kind of professional career and, sort of young adult life, and who am I, and what do I want, what do I need from someone? So both of these characters are kind of left, in some ways there's a kind of cliffhanger at the end, because you really see that they're just kind of cresting the wave of, having this huge, moment of self-discovery, and hopefully I think we'll be able to track where that goes in the next installments.
Right here in the front row.
My question is for Kevin. Kind of playing off of what Scarlett was saying, one element from the film that I loved was how you treat your female characters with respect and admiration. And the film's almost as much about Natasha's journey as it is Steve's. Will we be seeing a Soul like Black Widow film sometime in the future?
I think it could be great. We've got various outlines and ideas of where to take that. As Scarlett's already said, there's a big element that explores some of her backstory in an upcoming Marvel feature. So the question really is when would we want to take her out of that ensemble to go and do her own thing? And in fact, as you saw in this movie, as you'll see in Avengers: Age of Ultron. She's kind of key to so much of the broader world.
Right here in the center.
Hi, this is for Scarlett. Hi, I'm from Mom.me. I had a quick question about, you're such a strong female character in the movie, and you know, Sheryl Sandberg's out there saying, don't call girls bossy, and you could be considered bossy in the movie. And what do you think about being a role model for girls out there who want a female on screen who helps out her co-star, or who's a guy?
It's Karen.
Yes. Yes, you are. Big old man. You know, I think, you know, Natasha is a bit of a reluctant superhero. You know, she doesn't necessarily have this really kind of strong golden moral compass. You know, let's not forget she started out her career as, you know, essentially a mercenary. You know, and so, you know, I don't know if that makes her role model material. But she, you know, in some ways, I will say, you know, Natasha, I think one of the things that's very, you know, that's attractive to me about the character is that she uses her feminine wiles, you know, as kind of a part of her job, but she doesn't rely on, you know, her sexuality or, you know, kind of appeal, physical appeal to get her, you know, get the job done. You know, she's extremely smart. She thinks on her feet. She's a leader, and you know, and she is, I think, has a lot of foresight, and those are all qualities that I think it's, you know, wonderful to celebrate for young women. And of course, it's really rad for me to have my kids, you know, my friends' kids, you know, kind of look up to that character and, you know, dress up like her as Halloween and, like, you know, play with the boys and be rough. And, you know, I always say, like, the widow always wins, and it's true. And that's a nice sentiment.
It's not an easy Halloween costume.
For you.
Robert.
Hi, well, my question is for Chris. You spoke to us 3 years ago when the first film came out, and you were very candid about concerns you had, not about the role itself, but about its impact on you, a loss of anonymity, fear concerns about typecasting, and now this is the third time through with the captain and more to come. How do you feel that process has evolved, and how do you feel about
had I not done the movies, it would have been the biggest mistake of my life. It really would have been the biggest regret to date, and there are plenty. It's changed everything for me. I mean, not just what it's enabled me to do outside of these movies, but it's so comforting knowing that you're making good movies. It would be a nightmare to be trapped in this contract when you're making films that you're not proud of. But Marvel has the Midas touch, so every time you suit up, you know that you're making something of quality, and it's rewarding on every level. So thank God I had the right people in my life pushing me to make the right decision.
Next question is all the way in the back on the left.
My question is actually for Anthony and Chris.
Yay! sorry, I'm here. Anthony Russo. Sorry.
Love you, Anthony Russo. This is for Mr. Mackie, Mr. Evans. I love you two guys together in this film. I love the camaraderie between you two. I wanted to see if the two of you could comment about working together, and also what you guys think is a nice addition of having Falcon in this series.
Well, we just got cast in the remake of Lethal Weapon, so we're excited about that.
Small choice.
It's pretty cool. That's working out well. Wait, what was the question? I was holding that joke. So I wasn't listening.
Sorry. What you asked.
Damn, I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. Go ahead, my bad.
Well, I've known Anthony for a while now. I mean, this is our third movie together. It's funny. Everyone that I've worked with up here, it's familiar, and it's old relationships. So, and when I first met Anthony, it actually wasn't on the movie set. We got along very well. We're very similar people. So we hit it off very well offset, and then, you know, this is like I said.
Where'd you meet, Chris?
A library. Right. And, so we just got along, and so it was very easy having, you know, just kind of a repartee with him offset, and I think that translates on set. And it's just you know, you can tell right now the guy is life, he's energy. You know, on set in a press conference as a character, he just brings a certain type of spark that you know you need on film and you need off as well.
James.
I agree. This question would be for Mr. Feige and for the Russos. In this film, there are great bits from the familiar Marvel canon, the sensibilities of that universe, but you also have Mr. Mackie doing, I think, the first four-letter expletive in a Marvel film. You have Cap pinning someone's hand with a thrown knife, and you destroy a substantially large organization as part of the milieu of these films. Where do you decide to bend things or break them in the interest of moving these films forward as their own unique piece of entertainment?
I believe he says shit, and we've said shit in the movies before, lest you think it's another four-letter expletive. But, you know, it's the key to making these movies different, unique each time, is to, you know, I wouldn't say take chances necessarily, but to be able to move pieces around on the playing board and be able to subvert expectations. In terms of the big event that happens in the movie that changes everything, that was part of the plan for quite a while, to mix things up and for the world to be very different at the beginning of Avengers 2 than it was at the end of Avengers 1. But also the Russos, in terms of tone, in terms of action, when we met with Joe and Anthony, they were very clear and had very lofty ambitions, saying things like, we want to do the best car chase in any Marvel movie, and maybe the best car chase of all time. I said, well, that sounds good. Let's try that. And referencing the best choreographed fight scenes from, you know, the last 30 years as inspiration, and damned if they didn't pull it off.
Yeah, for us it was just a function of tone. I mean, the source material from Boo Breaker is an espionage film.
John Le Carre, not Jack Kirby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So. Great, there's a better reference I could have ever come up with.
In the center.
Yeah, right here. I have a question for Scarlett and Chris. Scarlett, back in September you were on TV saying that your grandma called you because she read that you were pregnant, and it wasn't true. But I want to ask about the movie.
Yes.
Do you picture, I mean, both of you guys as a family, you know, raising a little Captain America?
What a strange question. But I like your ability to think on your feet. No.
That was a contingency question. No, I don't think that's the dynamic of Cap and Black Widow.
All the way in the back.
Well, first of all, congratulations, guys. This movie just blew me away. It was you nailed it. It was so good. One of the lines that I love in the film is when you talk about the fact that Nick Fury is the only one who knows the big picture, and you just get a little bit. I'm curious, is Kevin your Nick Fury? Is he the only one who knows the big picture of all the Marvel movies and the plans? And have any of you approached and tried to get a little more out of him?
I would say that Samuel L. Jackson always has been, always will be our Nick Fury. That's all I know. That's all I know.
There are a lot of Nick Fury response.
That's your answer, I guess.
No, we don't ask for anything. We just ask not to be killed.
All the way in the back on the left.
Good morning. My question is for Chris and Sam, but any of the other actors or filmmakers who want to answer this, please go ahead. Tell me about working with the great Robert Redford.
He's amazing. It was pretty intimidating that day because he is a living legend. But it's always such a treat when someone you look up to that much lives up to the expectation. I mean, he very easily could have come on set and hijacked the film, not just as an actor, but given his past as a director and his experience, he very easily could have taken over. He showed up with the utmost professionalism. He knew his lines. I think the first day we filmed, we shot till 1 in the morning, and he stuck around for my off-camera stuff. I mean, it was like it was his first movie. So he really is such an example of what it is to be great.
Sam? Yeah, pretty much the same. I met Robert in a lot of different situations when I was going to Sundance when I was a younger actor, when he had a more active part in that process, and I missed an opportunity to do several films with him over the years. And that morning when I got there to work with him for the first time, we sat down, we talked about a lot of different things. We talked about golf, we talked about life, we talked about movies. So by the time we got on set, it did look like we spent time together or had some past in some darker and more medieval state of counterinsurgency. And it was a great experience. He's everything Chris said. He's professional. He knew his lines. He wanted to do it. He wanted to try them different ways. He wanted to, you know, make things better. And that's part of coming into the Marvel universe. People come in there and they see what we do and they kind of want to blend into it and make things better. And as we continue to do it, things do get better.
All the way over there on the right.
Yeah, this is for the Russo brothers. Traditionally, you're comedic directors for like episodes of Community, as well as I think Arrested Development.
Is that true?
Have you seen the show? So how did you adapt your styles that you've learned directing those episodes to a multi-million-dollar action film North with a budget in the 9 digits?
It was actually 10 digits, but we're not talking about that. You know, the process is very different. You still go to set. You're still you know, directing actors. You're still working with the crew. You know, you have an infrastructure at Marvel that's very different than anywhere else in the world, which is an incredible infrastructure, very talented, very intelligent people who are there to help you get your vision across. But we always say comedy is very different from action. It requires choreography. So when you're doing like a good comedic bit, it's all about the choreography and the timing of it, which isn't very different than stunt work or, you know, a fight in a movie. It's all a dance. So we didn't feel like it was that big of a stretch for us. It felt like, you know, every day that we've been on set for the last 15 years.
Here in the second row on the left.
Yes, for Scarlett. How did you prepare physically for the role? It seems to be pretty intense. How challenging was to do those stunts?
Well, I think I come off of doing a Broadway run, which is pretty much the most physically challenging thing you can do. And I felt like if anything was going to prepare me to have stamina, it was that. So everything seemed like a piece of cake after treading the boards for that long. And I think I was in pretty solid shape from that run. And then, you know, it's just maintaining it, boring, get up at 5, go to the gym, you know, all that stuff is horrible. And train like a dude, and then eat a bunch of lettuce and whatever. That's how it goes. Nothing fancy.
Okay. This is for Kevin. You know, there's a Spider-Man and an X-Men movie coming out next month, and you seem to be setting up so much within the Disney Marvel universe here. I'm wondering if you could tell me how much, if any, influence you have on these other Marvel films that come out of different studios.
It's limited. It's very limited with the other studios, mainly for 2 reasons. One, because we're quite busy building our own cinematic universe, and also the contracts are very old and the approvals are very limited. Who did what?
Quite busy making better fucking movies. Sorry. Oh, that was all. Said that out loud. I thought it was all. You thought it was all inside.
Is there any more to say about that?
No, I mean it sort of is what it is. Those contracts are very old with the other studios. I expect they'll be making Spidey movies at Sony for a long time and X-Men movies at Fox for a long time, and I hope we keep making MCU movies for a long time at Marvel.
Okay. In the front row, all the way over on the right.
Hi, Lance Cruzado from Disney Examiner. The liner notes say that there was a lot of source material you could have used from the first Captain America movie, considering that it was 1940s. If you can, what other source materials were there, and what made the Winter Soldier so distinct?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand the other source material reference.
Look, the source material for this is Ed Brubaker's run called About the Winter Soldier that came out, I think, in 2005. And as we said, its tone is very different from the first film. So that was the source material we drew on. Obviously, and Joss has said this, it's called the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it's not a direct interpretation of that, but it's borrowing tone, and it's borrowing characters, and it's borrowing themes. But that was the strongest source material for this movie.
All the way over here on the left now.
A question for Mr. Jackson. Good morning. Right. The script on this is obviously there's a lot of monumental twists and turns. Can you just talk about the first time you received the script? What went through your mind when you first read it, and what excited you the most about The Winter Soldier?
Gee, that's a lot of questions. Well, I'm always excited to do more, and Nick seems to grow with each, film. And I realized when I was reading it that it was a bit more than just, a comic book feature. That it had intrigue, and I'm sure a lot of young people are going to be surprised when they get in the movie and watch it that they actually have to think about something other than what's going on. You got to figure out a plot, and that always excites me. And it was, it's always a great joy to know that I'm going to be back in a space with all the people that I enjoy working with, and being able to do the things that I did on a very small scale when I was a kid. I mean, this is, a dream come true. You sit there and you read comic books when you're a kid, and you wonder if there's a world like that. You grow up as an actor, and they start making movies like that, and you wonder, how can I get in that movie? And then next thing you know, you're inside it, and you're kind of like, yeah. So, they're all pluses there.
You're in the front row.
I have to tell all of you, congratulations. This is by far the most superlative script of any Marvel movie that we have seen. And one of the great strengths is because you've moved it into the 21st century out of fighting for freedom, but fighting for truth. So how did each of you, especially Sebastian, since we haven't heard from you, how did you go about finding the balance of truth within your respective characters?
I'll take this one.
Well,
I don't know. For me, it was actually pretty simple, because the Winter Soldier's truth is, very direct, and he follows, on this very specific trajectory path, which is pretty much automatic, receiving orders, carrying them out, and don't stop at anything until you achieve your goal. So I feel it was probably more complex for the other characters, honestly, than what I had to do in the film.
Doing our best to get to as many as possible there in the back against the wall.
Sebastian, I'll follow up a little bit. I know a lot of actors like to build a backstory, but this character is kind of a man of mystery. Did you do any research looking back at the source material, the comics, anything like that? And Scarlett, I want to ask you real quick, you've done a lot of interesting roles lately. Is this a fun character to come back to? Does it feel very comfortable coming back to her?
Well, for me, of course, most of the work, at least on the character, I had done before the first film, when I was first educated about it, and then I tried to implement some of those things in the first film, not knowing at the time really that we were going to be doing this film. And then when it came to the role that I was going to play in this film, even though it was a very different version of a character that we sort of were introduced to in a certain way, I still, at the end of the day, was trying to kind of walk away from it, having left some type of mix of the new with some of the old aspects that you would sort of remember when you would see it in its entirety.
And yeah, I mean, I've never really had the opportunity to do something, it's an interesting challenge to keep coming back to this character. And I think one of the, I have the good fortune of playing a character that's sort of evolving with each kind of installment that you see her in. So, I mean, of course, I know, going in to play the character, of course, I have to understand who this character is and where she comes from, and have this sort of rich backstory. And I think the exciting thing is just scraping away a little part of that each time, to reveal, kind of a small part of the bigger picture of her. And it's a very complex character, which is wonderful for me, because over the period of time that I've played her, I've also grown. Obviously, it's been like 6 years or more, as you do in your career, your work, your life. So I feel that the story is sort of becoming, the character story is more enriched as my own experiences are.
Waiting very patiently in the pink there.
Very patiently, very patiently. Hi Chris, I just wanted to ask you, you've spent a lot of time in Cap's suit now, and I wanted to know, when you first put it on, when you come back for each outing, how that feels. Does it still feel as exciting when you pick up the shield?
It always feels like it gets tighter. It's not supposed to get more comfortable. I feel like this got worse. I'm not joking. That really happens. But you know, it's they always make improvements on it, and it is the type of thing. Once you get a good sweat going, it loosens up quite a bit. It's exciting. Again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that you know you're making good movies. If you were disappointed with the previous film, it's going to be hard to mentally prepare yourself for living in that thing for 4 or 5 months. But since Marvel just can't stop making quality movies, it's exciting, and it's humbling, and it's an honor to jump back into it, no matter how uncomfortable it is.
Right here in the third row.
Hi, Scarlett. This is a question from Argentina. Many actresses said, spoke in the past that the producers or industry changed the view of them when they became perhaps not so much action roles, not so femme fatale. Have you think about that? Do you think is something can happen with you?
I don't know. I've been in the industry for 20 years, and so the way that the roles that have become available to me change as I grow older, as I kind of transition through life. I'm sure that will continue as I grow older and transition through life. I mean, that's part of, you hope to have a career that has longevity and, and reflects the kind of, the experiences that you've had, I guess. It's what we all hope for, men and women alike.
You're still a femme fatale.
Thank you.
So I'm sorry that this has to be the last question, but please, after we are finished, please stay in your seats, because we've got to get the cast and the filmmakers out to their one-on-one interviews. So if everybody will stay in their seats while we get them up the aisle. And thank you.
My question was for Mr. Russo and Mr. Russo. With the first film, with Captain America, he's getting to punch Nazis, and who doesn't love watching a Nazi get punched in the face? With this film, obviously bringing it into the modern setting, you have to deal with modern politics, America's sort of role in the world. How did you thread the needle, as it were, to maybe avoid taking this film towards anything too, I guess, recent? I've heard that 3 Days of the Condor was a reference point for you.
Yeah. I don't know. Look, we're making a political thriller, and I don't know that we might have done the opposite of what you're asking about. We tried to run at what's happening in the world today with the movie. We were very. Somebody's trying to stop me from saying that. Yeah, so we were being very, we were thinking about what's going on in the world with preemptive strikes and the president's kill list, and then the whole Snowden thing came out after we were shooting, but it was just reflective of that was sort of the tip of the iceberg of all the other sort of elements that were going on in the world that we were thinking about. So I mean, we tried, we tried to give the movie some sort of, make it reflective of our real world condition and our real world stakes, even though it's a fantasy expression of what that is.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.